missed it. You're live in that boy level. Missed it. You're live in that boy level. Missed it. You're live. Missed it. You're live in that. Missed it. You're live in that boy level. Missed it. You're live in that boy level.
Man, that brings back memories right there. Somebody asked me to pull back the old intro to the Live and Level Gamers podcast. So I went through, the portfolio and found it. And I ain't heard my boy Mr. L live name in a while. Salute to him, man. RIP. But this is the Live and Level Gamers podcast. Right now it's just me and my partner D2K. What's up, D2?
What's going on?
The Super Bowl, the Patriots cheated another team yet again with all this assistance. Anyway, we'll talk about it. But
they assisted them to choke, perhaps. They assisted them in choking. That's what happened. That's the only assistance.
Man, we gonna talk about it. We gonna talk about it a little bit. But yeah, man, D2K is in the house. Hopefully, the Keiths and the John Shaws and the Kwamans, and I know K-Bun won't be here, so hopefully one of those jump in. But if not, it's just gonna be me and the D2K. So let's get it in, man. First of all, I hope y'all liked. For all you guys that's kind of new to the podcast, yes, that was the original introduction. That was the original way we normally started the podcast back when it was just me and my boy Mr. L Live 08. As many of you guys know that he passed away last year, and so we lost him then, and that was hard. But y'all all know him, and salute to him. But anyway, let's start off with what you've been gaming on, man. So I'm gonna throw it over here to D2K and see what he been gaming on. What you been gaming on, bro?
I've been pretty much just gaming on older stuff. I mean, the other day I was trying to do set up a video for. I haven't done a retro gaming Friday in a long time, and I was trying to do one. I was trying to do one for Marshall Masters, and I had recorded the whole video, and I beat the game and everything, and the end boss is super hard. I mean, he is just atrociously hard. But I finally beat him, and I got to edit it and everything, and then there was no sound in the video. I'm like, son of a gun. Oh, man, I was so mad. So I'm going to have to do it over again. I'm too mad to do it over again. I have to play something else. But that's what I've been playing recently. I haven't been playing too much else.
Man, ain't that aggravating, though, when you do something and either you don't have the time to finish it, or you do something and it's wrong and you don't have the time to go back and make the errors, correct the errors in it. Like, actually, I got a video and I was telling you about it before we started recording that I had the audio recorded. I knew no one was making the connections. And I was like, man, I got to get this video up before anybody makes the connection about Nintendo and the choice of the Super Bowl commercial and what it might also be alluding to. And I had the audio recorded, and for some reason, man, I just could not get back to it. And then I was listening to a few people thinking somebody gonna say it, and nobody said it until I listened to Rule of Two review, and he said exactly what I was gonna say. So it killed all my desire to put the video up. But we'll talk about that here in a second. We got Keith in the building. What's up, man?
What's up? It's me. Nah, I ain't gonna do that. What's going on, everybody?
Let me know what you've been gaming on, man.
Nothing. No, I take that back. I tried out that Fire Emblem Heroes. It's pretty good.
Is that the mobile game?
Yeah. It's the mobile game.
Okay. All right. What'd you think about the Super Bowl, man? I know you watched that.
Yeah, man, look.
We gonna talk about it.
I think it's yeah, let's talk about it later. Let's talk about it later.
We gonna talk about it, man. I'm already ready to go in on this, but anyway, far as me, it's been the same. Been playing that demo of what is that game called? NAR. I can't say it now. I want to say Automata, but that ain't how you say it. How you say that? It's on the PlayStation 4. I've been playing that and a little bit of Ratchet and Clank. Still haven't really got a chance to get into it, man. My little girl, man, one of my twins got sick. We had to take her to the hospital, man, and see what was going on with her. And her fever was running high. Found out that she had an infection. So yeah, man, keep her in your prayers and uplifted, man. But that kind of cut into a lot of what I was planning on doing. But I ain't even know if I was gonna be able to get down here to do this right here. But anyway, but yeah, that's all I've been playing on is that Near Automata. I think that's how you say it. I can't remember how to say it.
Automata.
Yeah, Automata. You know, Automata, Uda Buddha, Saduda Kuda, whatever you say it is. You know, y'all know it is. Platinum Games made it. There you go. So anyway, let's start with this, right? Because this can lead into a discussion. And then I got a few things set up, man. I want to talk about John Shaw had a good article up that caused a lot of friction on, I think it was, I forgot where he put it at. It was N4G or wherever. He put up a title called Nintendo has proven that E3 is irrelevant. And he put it up, and I was hoping he could be here. Hopefully he do show up. But I want to talk about some of the points he had made in that article. I also want to talk about what Microsoft might need to do to generate some momentum with the Scorpio, man. Like right now, this thing it's really quiet over there. It's a little rumbling, and they came out with a little bit of stuff, but as fast as they came out, it went right back out. We also talk about what Sony might need to do, you know, to keep the momentum, or do they even have momentum when it comes to the Pro? Because we know they got the momentum with the PlayStation 4. And we're going to talk about the Super Bowl. We're going to talk about the Nintendo Switch commercial during the Super Bowl. What else did I have up there, man? I had a few things. So we got a few things up to talk about. Also want to talk about a game that really changed how you felt about gaming. Like one game that you remember that really caused you to really appreciate gaming. We're going to talk about that as well. So let's start with the Super Bowl since it's the most recent thing that happened. I'm going to throw that D2K first. Like, what did you think about the cheaters by the name of the winners by the name of the New England Patriots? Tom Brady winning his 5th Lombardi trophy and raising it up, signifying possibly being the greatest quarterback ever in NFL history, passing Joe Montana for more Super Bowl wins. What do you think, man?
This is what I think about Atlanta. Boo! I mean, they just completely choked that Super Bowl away.
Did they?
No, let them talk, Keith. Let them talk. Let them get it out, man. I want to hear what D2K got to say. Go ahead.
When I say that they choked it away, is that, you know, I don't want to get into a bigger conversation about how these things are run because, you know, we could talk about this until Sunday, but I understand how there are powers that be behind the scenes that pull the strings on certain things. But if I'm just going to stick to the football aspect of the game itself, I'm looking at the first half and I'm looking at the first play from scrimmage. I think it was Devontae Freeman. He rips off like a 30-yard run. And I said, this don't look good for them at all. And it just seemed like that Atlanta just picked up right where they left off from that game against the Packers. Their offense was just clicking, moving like that, and their defense was getting pressure on Tom Brady and making him uncomfortable to where even though he was making throws, he wasn't making throws on target because he heard footsteps coming. And it just didn't even look like Tom Brady. It looked like somebody completely different, like it was an imposter in his jersey or whatever. And it looked like it was going to be another blowout just like it was against the Packers. I mean, it was pretty much going into the third quarter. I mean, it looked like this game was over. And then all of a sudden, Atlanta just says, okay, we're not going to play offense anymore. The MVP looked like a joke. And all of a sudden, the defense of the Patriots looked like the 85 Bears all of a sudden. And I'm like, how can you flip the script that badly for both teams? Both teams just went complete opposite of what they were doing from first half to the second half. And then they put the graphic up that said that no team had ever come back from more than 10 points down in Super Bowl history, and the Super Bowl had never gone into overtime. Now, going into this game, the narrative was that if Tom Brady was able to win, that he would avenge all the Deflategate and all the cheating stuff and all that type of stuff, and he'll surpass Joe Montana and Terry Bradshaw to have 5 rings and all that type of stuff. So the fact that somehow it gets to the point where Tom Brady has to come back from 25 points down to get the game into overtime and then lead his team on a touchdown drive to win the game in overtime. And, I mean, like I said, I don't want to go into this area, but, I mean, I've seen less rigged things in WWE than this. It's just, but if I'm gonna not go there and just look at it from a football standpoint, it was a huge choke job by Atlanta because there were so many opportunities you had to stop them. There was that one catch that Julian Edelman made, which was ridiculous. I mean, you had 3 guys over there, and somehow he catches the ball with his fingertips. I mean, the ball was literally an inch off the ground when he caught the ball. And there's 3 Falcons over there, and he still caught the ball. And then you had when they were in field goal range, you could have put the game out of reach. All of a sudden, you have Matt Ryan get sacked, and then another sack, and now they're out of field goal range. Now they have to punt. And it was just so many things. Like, what are you guys doing? I mean, this is ridiculous. Wait, did you guys forget how to play?
That was kind of strange, wasn't it, to be killing like they was, and then all of a sudden you just don't know how to play no more. I mean, go ahead, I'm listening. Go ahead.
I mean, but it's just, I mean, from a football standpoint, like, it's an epic choke job, but because I know better than that, and I understand what goes on behind the scenes and why teams are in the Super Bowl and why they're there and when they're there, I'm like, okay, fine. I understand why it played out the way it did.
Okay. So D2K has gave his soliloquy of why the Patriots are the Super Bowl champions of Super Bowl 51. Keith, would you give us your take on what you viewed this past Sunday around 5:30 Central Time, so that'd be 6:30 Eastern Time, and I don't know what time in Pacific. But go ahead, man. Go on, say something.
It'd probably be like what? You said 4:30? I don't know. All right, so I'm watching the game, and I'm just like, oh my God, these dudes are finna get blown out. The Patriots, supposedly the best team in the NFL, are getting blown out in the Super Bowl. It's over for Brady. I'm sorry, my son in the kitchen playing. I'm like, it is over for Brady. He has to retire before the halftime. You know what I mean? That's how bad it was looking. And as I kept watching, and my uncle called me, he was like, man, this game is looking rough. I was like, even though Patriots looking bad, they can still do the same thing that the Falcons are doing to them right now. They did it in one half. They can do it in another half. I didn't think it was going to happen. I was like, that's impossible. But I don't want to get into. I think D2K pretty much said everything that needed to be said. I really want to touch on the powers that be, but we'll leave that alone. I'm not gonna get into that. But overall, I think it was a good game. It was a good way to end it, I guess you could say. It really got everybody on their toes, looking like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. So in a WWE type of way, they did their job.
I'm since D2K set it up to where for me to go into this, like he said, we'll be talking about it till Sunday. I would simply say this: them boys got robbed. That's all I'm gonna say. They did kind of choke away, but I feel like the choking only happened because they was getting calls going against them that just did not make any sense. Before they went into halftime, they called 3 back-to-back tic-tac holding calls to ensure people, this is how you know they were trying to ensure the Patriots had something on the boards before they went into halftime. Yeah, if you look at the plays that they called holding, you can call that every play of the game. So that was one. And the only other one I'm going to bring up, and I will leave it alone, and we'll get on to the Switch commercial, because that's what y'all came to talk about. Y'all came to talk about video games, not actual games, but video games. All right, so D2K brought up that field goal that Matt Ryan should have threw the ball away to stay in field goal range, and he didn't, and he got sacked. The very next play, there was a holding called against Atlanta on the far side of the field. We didn't see it, but we did see the receiver for the Atlanta Falcons get pulled out by his helmet right in front of a referee, both hands on the face mask and the whole of the man's helmet. He literally pulls him out of bounds, and the referee is standing there right over him looking, calls nothing. And at the exact same time, there's a holding called against the Falcons. And when they show the replay, all he did was graze the helmet of the Patriots, and that took them out of field goal range. These are the type of things, even though this was a great game, I feel like Matt Ryan, I'm not an Atlanta fan. I can't stand the Patriots. But I feel like Matt Ryan did what he needed to do, and the Falcons did what they were supposed to do. But the song that these folks, the powers that be, wanted to be sung was Brady coming back from the Deflategate, suspended, wins the championship, comes back on an impossible comeback drive, just like, let me show you something. It's been a trend all through sports. LeBron, and I'm a LeBron fan, and I'm saying this.
Go ahead.
LeBron comes back 3-1. Draymond Green gets suspended. Bogus go down, and then Iguodala get hurt. They come back and they win. Never happened in the history of NBA. And the same thing happened in the Western Conference for the Warriors.
What a coincidence.
3 down, 3-1. Never happened. Baseball. Same thing happened. An incredible comeback that has never happened in the history of sports. Now you see it in football. No one has ever came back being down 28-3 in the Super Bowl. Never had an overtime in the Super Bowl. Guess what, folks? It happened. You think that's a coincidence? I think not. Now let's go on to this. I think I proved my case. Anyway, it was a good game though. So anyway, so Nintendo had a $5 million budgeted commercial for the Super Bowl, right? How many people did you see it during the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I caught it.
Okay, it was me and D2K was trying to break down around what time we actually saw it, and it was actually around It looked like around 9 to 8 minutes before the last quarter was over. So it was the fourth quarter, around 9 minutes into the fourth quarter. I mean, 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I think the commercial aired. So let me ask y'all. I'm gonna start with Keith. What did you think, man? Did you feel like it was it was placed right? Because that was probably the most viewed aspect of the game. Was right where it came on. What did you think?
You know, I actually didn't even consider the timing of it because I was waiting on it. I was like, when are they going to show this commercial? And now that you just mentioned it right before the fourth quarter, that actually makes a lot of sense. I hope a lot of people saw it. I just wish they would have did the longer commercial, but I understand that they couldn't. You know, I know it's really expensive, but I feel like that commercial it went by so quick, and I didn't feel like it didn't get the. For me, I already knew what it was, but for people watching it, probably didn't get the full message. It was like, switch.
Okay.
But but no, I think the placement. I didn't even think about that. That placement it was pretty smart though, because I thought that I had maybe missed it, but
right.
But yeah.
Right. All right, D2.
Yeah, it was over before, like we were talking about earlier. Is that it seemed like it was over before it even got started because, I wasn't really paying attention. I was doing something else, and I saw the switch symbol on the TV. I was like, "Oh, there it is!" And then it was like, "We're done." It was over that fast, and I'm like, "Wait, whoa!" So, I mean, I'd already seen all the other commercials on YouTube. I seen the longer regular Switch commercial. I was just showing all the stuff, and then the real long one that's just about a minute and 40 seconds. But, I guess strategically, it probably was best to show your biggest game title is going to be available at launch during the Super Bowl. The main reason why people are going to be buying the Switch is for Zelda. So that's probably the best commercial out of the three that they made to put in that spot. And that time during the game, that was right around the time where the Patriots were starting to come back. Right. And was a good. I mean, they didn't. Well,
I don't think they was predicting that to happen. I don't think they knew it.
I was going to say that they didn't know they was going to be coming back, but then they did. But it was a strategically well placed spot for the commercial. I mean, ideally you would like it to be at the beginning where everybody's watching because it's at the beginning of the game. But those spots probably cost 3 times as much as the spot that they actually paid for. So. I guess it did. It did what it needed to do.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. When I was waiting for it the whole time, I was asking all my friends and colleagues, like, did y'all see that Switch commercial yet? Did y'all see the Nintendo commercial? Has it come on? Because I was basically hosting the Super Bowl party this year at my house, and so everybody's here in my man cave, hovered around the TV, and I'm running back and forth trying to get chairs and get the food and everything situated so everybody's accommodated well. So I thought I missed it. So when it came on right when the tensions was at the most highest they can be. This was right when Tom Brady and the Patriots are making their charge back. They scored another touchdown, and everybody is just Molly Watt with confusion, like, how is this happening? And oh my God, can he do it? And then all you hear is, and you hear the beat pop, and then you see Zelda, and then you see him float in. Then it was quick. It came in and went right out. And I was like, man, I don't know if people really got the full impact, but apparently by and this was actually covered by Ace Metrics. Analyzing company of video advertising. This was covered by Nintendo Life, and right now I'm reading it from Game Rant. Basically, the commercial was a success. It was actually one of the most viewed and favorite commercials of the Super Bowl, like the 5th highest rated commercial of the Super Bowl. So the Nintendo Switch actually caught a buzz from the Super Bowl. And if you notice, during this week, Nintendo said that they have changed the amount of switches that are going to be ready at launch. They're up the what were they up the when they put it on the when the assembly line to the production of them. They're up the production to and they opened up more stores to pre-order more Switch systems. So I'm taking it that the commercial and the success that it generated, coupled with the already seeming sold out everywhere and everybody seemed to be wanting a Switch, Nintendo had the confidence to go and say, hey, we're going to up the projected amount that we had projected, and we're going to up that and make more. So they opened up, I think Best Buy and GameStop and a few others were able to take even more Switch pre-orders. So it seemed to work, man. I'm throwing back at you, D2K. What you think about that?
Well, they cannot allow to let happen with the Switch what happened with the NES Mini. So I think that played into it too, because the interest going up, they may have feel like, there's a possibility that things could sell out really fast and people can get very angry. So you better pump out some more just in case. So it's probably it's a smart business move to do that. So, even if they don't sell out, it's better to have it and not need it versus need it and not have it, because I don't think that strategy that they used for the Wii will work this time, of intentionally short stocking in order to keep the hype going, because if you already have the hype going, you don't need to do that. So just go ahead and put the stuff out there, let the people buy it, and let chips fall where they may.
Yeah, I don't think I mean, I know a lot of people say that Nintendo are accused, and I've even made this accusation as well. With the Nintendo Classic Mini, I don't think Nintendo thought the thing was going to sell much at all. I think they're just throwing something out there in the market to have something there.
Well, I actually have a different thought about the NES Classic. I think the NES Classic was a marketing move. I don't even think they really cared about the numbers. I think there was more or less basically trying to get people's attention out of the Switch.
Yeah, they're just trying to keep something out there that that keep Nintendo name in folks' mouths, and I think it took off in a way that not even Nintendo expected. And I also think the same thing happened with the Wii. Like, I think Nintendo didn't think the Wii was going to be as successful as it was, and it caught them off guard. And once they realized that people wanted this thing as much as they did, then they start trying to meet demand, and they couldn't keep up with it. And the reason I make that statement is because the Wii U, they overproduced the Wii U. They had so many out there that companies like, don't give us no more because we can't even sell what we got. So I don't know, man. I'm curious to if they are kind of intentionally causing a frenzy by short-handing retailers with not enough product. I don't think that's. I don't want to believe that, but it's possible.
I don't think that's happening this time around. I think that they realized that they were able to do it with the Wii because the demand was so high and it was so popular.
Right.
They didn't think it was going to be 100 million consoles sold popular, but I'm pretty sure they knew they were going to sell a pretty decent amount because of the price difference between that, the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360.
Okay.
And they had titles. You had a pack-in game with the Wii. People were already sold with the Wii because of Wii Sports. When you got the console, you already knew what you were getting it for. So it wasn't like people were going into it blind and say, well, I'm not sure how this is going to be. You already knew what it was. So it was it was something that was a sure thing. With the Switch, some people have played it, but most people haven't. So by the time it comes out, they'll have some of them in stores and you'll be able to play it and stuff like that. But still, a lot of people who are going to be buying it are going to be going into this cold turkey. So they just have to make sure that they have enough stock ready just in case this thing does blow up. And it's going to sell well in the first couple of months. I guarantee you that. It's going to sell first couple.
I'm gonna read what I'm gonna turn it over to you, Keith. Let me read this real quick. It says, and this is Game Rate, basically reporting what Nintendo Life had to say. It says, as reported by Nintendo Life, a video advertising analyst company called Ace Metric has determined that the Nintendo Switch Super Bowl 51 commercial was the fourth most popular ad that aired during the big game, with Ford's Go Farther commercial taking the top spot. So Nintendo's Switch commercial was the 4th most popular commercial during the Super Bowl. Now you talking about, man, I don't know how many commercials aired during the Super Bowl. So for Nintendo to be the 4th most popular, that's either saying one or two things. Either a lot of Nintendo fans tuned in to support, or a lot of people that are Nintendo is doing what they need to do to generate interest with the Switch, because it seemed to be working.
Or it could be that a lot of the commercials were stupid, which they were.
Yeah, a lot of words, but still, even in that, it's still a good thing. Go ahead, Keith, and I'll take this a little bit farther.
Only thing I would add to that is just I hope that equals sales, that popularity of the commercial. I just hope it equals sales. I think wasn't it Reggie who said, I think it was around the time that Rainfall petition. He was like, even though we got these signatures, don't mean it's gonna sell. So I just hope that this time that the popularity of this commercial generates the numbers so we can get some games. So
let's go a little farther with this, man. I agree, Keith. I'm hoping that the popularity moves over into actual purchase. Now, don't just keep the P for popular. Let's get the P for purchase. You know what I'm saying? So for all you that don't know your alphabet, the letter P, stand for purchases, not just popularity. Anyway, let's look a little bit deeper into why Nintendo chose to put a commercial up during the Super Bowl, because honestly, they didn't have to do this, because that's not a cheap endeavor to put a commercial that's dealing with a game that is not sports related or the typical action-packed type of a game like a Call of Duty or a Black Ops or something like God of War. On that, that real action-packed type of game. They got, Zelda is an action game, don't get me wrong, but it's more of a finesse game, and it's not that audience. I don't know if Zelda and the sports audience intermingle. I don't know how to put that, but I don't know if that's the right audience for Zelda, but Nintendo chose to put Zelda out front during the Super Bowl to a sports audience. So I want to talk about something that I had a video prepared to go up about. I had the audio recorded, and I didn't get a chance to fully edit everything to put it up for the Level Head on the Go. And I was like, man, I don't hear no one making these connections. And I listened to a whole bunch of videos around the why Nintendo is doing this. And the only person that said and had the same mindset I had was Rule of Two Review. And I'm going to share what I had to say. I believe that while Nintendo was trying to put the Switch in the best position the commercial in the best position to reach the most people at one time during the Super Bowl, I don't think that was the only motivator for why they chose to go with the Super Bowl and this sports-driven audience. There was an article that came out last year. I don't know if it was early last year, but I read around the time of the teaser for the Nintendo Switch, where EA said that they want to see Nintendo. If Nintendo wants EA support with the Switch, they want to see Nintendo target more sports-driven audience.
I remember that article.
Right. Mm-hmm. And that if Nintendo would target these type of audiences, this is what they demanded. They wanted to see, and I know people like, who is EA to demand whether? I'm just saying what they said. They wanted to see, because they said the reason they did not support and stay with the Wii U was because Nintendo was not marketing to their audience and where where most of their sales are driven from, and that's sports heads like the person that watched ESPN and Fox News, meaning Fox Sports all day. These are the areas that Nintendo's commercials never showed up. showing up on a Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon is fine for that audience. But if you want to get the father who loves his baseball, who loves his basketball, who loves his football, and also loves to play Call of Duty, you need to have commercials, no matter what the game is, advertised to these individuals. Well, they said this is what they wanted to see Nintendo do with the Switch, and like target ESPN and Fox News. Well, Nintendo goes beyond that. They go to the Super Bowl. Like, that's like, okay. Now, there was another article that I don't think people paid attention to, and even Rule of Two Review brought this up. The only company from the Western market that was actually in Japan on the 12th was who?
EA.
EA. Now, I had this in my video. No one is looking. I'm like, okay, not only is EA the only company that stood on that stage, EA was also the company that said Nintendo has been working with us close. We have had a lot of input on the development of the Switch. We're happy with the Switch, and we are going to support the Switch. Back in the day, they said Nintendo needs to target sports audiences. All of a sudden, everyone is scratching their heads about why is Nintendo promoting at the Super Bowl? Why? They're spending $5 million for a 30-second ad. Well, put the dots together, people. Nintendo wants EA support. That's what it's saying to me. And apparently they have it, because they at the Super Bowl, EA showed up on January the 12th. EA also said we are working hand in hand with Nintendo with the development and the ideas surrounding the Switch. So I'm going to throw this to D2K. And we're going to go a little bit even farther with this, but I'm going to throw this to D2K, get his thoughts on what I just said, and if he noticed that, and then Keith as well. Go ahead, man.
Well, I didn't put it together until you just brought up all that stuff, but it does make a lot of sense that you would want to get the biggest, Western distributor on board, because if you think about it, EA led the exodus away from the Wii.
Yeah, that's where I was about to go. Go ahead.
So you would want to go to those people who are responsible for that and make good with them to lead the charge back to Nintendo. Now, they've said some good things about Nintendo. They've said some other things about Nintendo that are kind of troubling about, we're going to play the wait and see game after FIFA and see how it does. So that doesn't mean that they're not going to make any games for the Switch after that. It just means that they're going to wait. So there's nothing that's imminent after FIFA. But at least they're positive about Nintendo versus in the past, like they said, we're done with these folks. So it makes a whole lot of sense for Nintendo wanting to, mend those fences. And, EA has every right to make demands to Nintendo to say, look, if you want our business, these are the conditions for that business. That's how you run business. They don't have any obligation to put their games on Nintendo's console or anyone's console. They put their games on the consoles where they feel they can make the most money. So if they feel like they can make money with the Switch, then they're saying that, well, it may not be exactly what we want, but we can fix it so we can make money on this thing, and these are our ideas to make this thing successful. And it seems like Nintendo is listening. And that's been my biggest gripe for Nintendo for a long time, is that they haven't been listening. Now it seems like they are listening. That's what you're supposed to do. Listen to what people are saying. The reason why the PlayStation 4 is as successful as it is because Sony went to third parties and said, what do you want from us? They went to the consumers. They said, what do you want us to make for you? And look at it go. So that same thing can happen to the Switch. Nintendo has that same mindset to say, look, we don't know everything. We don't have all the answers. Let's go to the third parties and ask them for what they actually want us to do. And if they do that, and it seems like they are, if you're going to connect the whole thing with what that article said from last year to Nintendo going to the Super Bowl with their ad, then it seems like they are listening. And you hear third parties saying that we're happy with the Switch and we're happy with where direction Nintendo is going and we can't wait to do this and blah, 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 blah. So it seems like behind the scenes, Nintendo is telling these third parties what they want to hear. So, I say that Nintendo needs to keep doing that, keep listening to the third parties, keep taking their suggestions to heart and implementing in their business strategies. And I think that if they do that, then the Switch can do pretty good.
Keith?
Well, I never put any of this together. One, because I don't play a lot of EA games, and I'm sitting here trying to think like what EA game is like very important besides like the Mass Effects and the other sports games. But I think kind of taking what D2K said is that Nintendo is basically trying to use EA as leverage, because I don't really think that they have the game or the games that people really just want. But if we can use them as leverage and say, hey, we are opening up our doors and we're, like you said, we're listening and we're trying to come around, then hopefully other people will come around, even if they don't even put that many games out. But at least you know that this isn't the same Nintendo that, hey, you do it our way or there's no way at all. You know what I'm saying? So I think they're trying to use them as leverage as that gateway. Kind of EA is the gateway drug back into Nintendo, So, I don't really have anything else to say, but you guys pretty much just summed up everything. But I didn't even think about the no, that was DTK that said the exodus away from Nintendo.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it.
But another thing to add to that is that, right now EA controls the Star Wars franchise. And there's a lot of money to be made in that with all these movies coming out. And Nintendo probably wants a piece of that. So it would be a good idea to get back up with EA for if nothing else, to have connection to the Star Wars franchises again.
Right. What I saw was what D2K alluded to. I was about to bring up is EA seems to be the domino, the lead domino for third party messing with you or not messing with you. So if EA says they're out, we saw this with the Dreamcast, we saw this with the Wii U. The only difference is Nintendo is the type of company that is able to keep a heartbeat going on its own. They might not be able to. They like with the Wii U, they look like they was on life support, but no one could pull the plug except Nintendo. Whereas, as all the third parties exodused away and left, Nintendo was still had the breathing machine going on its own with Wii U. Until they decided, okay, we're gonna have to go ahead and move on. But going back to EA, if you get EA, and it don't have to be a lot, just you get the main sports title. Like you need that Madden. You need Madden because Nintendo doesn't have a football game. You need a Madden to show up on your Switch system, just like they got NBA 2K18 already showing up. That's the basketball game that everybody wants to play. They need Madden. They might have FIFA, but I believe they're going to have Madden as well. Anything else that comes from EA is icing on a cake. You don't have to have it. It ain't a must, but you want Madden. You want NBA 2K18. You want those games there. You want FIFA for Europe. You want those games there. And if EA supports you, then there's a likelihood that you're going to draw support from other third-party companies. And another thing Nintendo's done, and Miyamoto came out this week and said something that was profound to me. He says that we have mastered Unreal Engine 4, and we're able to aid third party in how to take full advantage of the Nintendo Switch with the Unreal 4 engine, because we know all the tools, we know how it works, we know how to work our tools with it, and we possibly might use it in the future alongside our own tools, and we have literally mastered it already. And like there was a whole bunch of stuff we have never seen Nintendo remotely. There's not a news with the Switch that we haven't seen with Nintendo. And like I don't know if y'all saw that article or heard about that, But what did you think, D2K, when you heard Miyamoto say that not only are we able to use the Unreal Engine 4 and aid third party with it, we have mastered it?
Well, it means that they've been able to find out how to get all the power that the Switch has out by using Unreal Engine 4, which is what an engine is designed to do. It's not something that's exclusively for powerful hardware. It's an engine that allows powerful hardware to reach its full potential. So whatever the Switch is capable of doing, they've been able to use Unreal Engine 4 to pretty much bleed out everything that the Switch is possible. Whatever power level it is, they can reach that full potential, and there's nothing left once they reach that full potential by using Unreal Engine 4. So, who knows? I mean, we don't know how powerful the Switch is or it isn't. We don't know if the games that we've seen so far were developed on, less powerful development kits, and they had to just use something in order to get games ready for the launch, and maybe games that we'll see in the second tier, coming into late 2017 to 2018 will actually look better. We don't know, but I think that basically them saying that they master Unreal Engine 4 is that there won't be any problems for third parties being able to get their games to look as good as they possibly can. Even if they don't look as good as the other two, the games will look great on the Switch because they'll be able to maximize Unreal Engine 4.
Okay. Keith?
Well, I was going to say not just will they not look as good, but I think it's another sign of Nintendo listening and saying, hey, we're going to use tech that you're used to. You know what I mean? Like, we're going out of our way, out of our comfort zone, I guess you could say, because I don't know what engines Nintendo used to use before. Probably in-house engines, probably. I don't know. But it's just a sign of Nintendo just trying to change the small tweaks. You know what I mean? And then you can take like a game. I'm just going to use this as an example, like a Scalebound or something like that. Let's say Platinum couldn't get it to work right. Then Nintendo is saying, hey, we have manpower that we can assist you with that. So I just feel like this is just a new Nintendo who's opening up their doors and saying, hey, if we're going to stay alive, we have to have support. We have to support our devs and other people. So the whole Unreal Engine thing, just for the fact that they're using it, is a good thing. The fact that they said that Miyamoto said that they mastered it, oh my gosh. And then I was looking at Mario Odyssey. Clearly, it's running on Unreal Engine 4. It kind of looks like those Unreal Engine tech demos when people made the Mario 64. I don't know if y'all seen those. It kind of looks like that. So I think this is a good thing.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if it's running on Unreal Engine 4, but I do believe that the Mario Odyssey is actually utilizing more of the capability of the Switch. I said this last podcast than Zelda is. And I think because Zelda was built for the Wii U, by just porting that over, I don't think it's taking full advantage of what the Switch can do. Because they want a parity with the Wii U version. I think Anuma said that they chose to stick with keeping it as close to what the Wii U version is so that it wouldn't be frustrating or create a animosity or anger with Wii U owners who don't own the Switch. They didn't do all they probably could have done with Breath of the Wild on the Switch. So yeah, I think because when you look at Odyssey, it has another look to it. Not to say that Breath of the Wild isn't beautiful, because it is, but it has a more powerful look to it than, or taking more advantage of the Switch power than Zelda Breath of the Wild is, in my opinion. But folks might think I'm tripping with that. Anyway, so let's go even farther with this, since we on Nintendo. John Shaw brought up an interesting topic on fulleffectgaming.com. That's fulleffectgaming.com, where he said that Nintendo has basically proven that E3 is not needed. Now, I'm going to come from the angle that he used. He says the Switch has not been on display at E3 at all, right? It wasn't on display at last year's E3. It wasn't on display at the E3 prior to that. They skipped E3 with the Switch. They showed Zelda, Breath of the Wild for the Wii U, and that was it. And a few games for the 3DS. And then in October, we get the first trailer for the Switch. Then in January, we get the first reveal of the Switch. And then it's told to be launching on March the 3rd. So everything that has been generated for the Switch has happened post E3 between October and where we currently are now. And the Switch is the talk of talks. And some are saying that is more pre-ordered than the PlayStation 4 was. Or was it PlayStation 2? No, yeah, PlayStation 4 was at this time. There's more interest. It's at the Super Bowl. Fourth most popular ad on the Super Bowl. Pre-orders sold out everywhere across the world. And then his counterpart was the Scorpio, which they talked about it at E3, and we're going to see it supposedly this E3, and there's not a lot of steam being built up, but the Switch hasn't been talked about nor shown at E3, and it's generated this much energy and this much following outside of the E3 stage. Has Nintendo, and I'm throwing this at Keith, and then we go to D2K. Has Nintendo proven that possibly there's no need for E3 to generate, because a lot of people say you got to go to the E3 stage to get the attention that you need to generate the sales that you want. Is Nintendo disproving that logic?
I think the internet age has proven that you don't need E3. You just post it on the internet and say, hey, we're announcing this, and people will come see it. I think we've been saying that for a lot. When I say we, us Nintendo fans have been saying that a while now since with the Directs. We're like, they really don't need to come back to the stage. We've been kind of happy with the Treehouse to, when we go back and watch it, not the whole thing, but I think so. I don't think you need that to spend that type of money to try to get up there and try to have a whole thing. And we saw how that failed with the Wii U, E3, and then they're opening the doors. What is it? Is it this year that they're opening the doors to the public?
Yeah.
So it's not even going to be like a bunch of journalists. I mean, people are going to be in the way. You know what I mean? I was listening to Gamer Tag Radio, and that's how they felt about it.
You listen to them too?
They was kind of upset about it. Like they need to separate it because they're trying to work and these people are trying to play games. But
yeah, forget them, man. They just try to act like they more special than the next. They ain't no different. It ain't in gaming. There is no real journalists. Y'all just gamers who have paper to write down stuff. Man, I don't want to hear that.
True.
Go ahead.
That's true. But yeah, I think Nintendo's kind of changed the way things have been done. And what's funny is they're taking advantage of the current technology, using the internet, the web, to get their message out there. So I don't think anybody really needs to go to E3. But at the same time, to counter my own argument, I think it's something that we all look forward to every year. So I wouldn't want to see it go away because it is
I agree.
It is like a big thing that we look forward to as gamers, and we look forward to those big games to come out. But you don't have to be there to announce your game.
Right. Go ahead, D2.
I'll start off by saying that I don't think that the lack of interest or the lack of hype for the Scorpio right now has anything to do with E3. I think it has to do with the fact that Microsoft does not know how to put on a conference. They just haven't. I mean, when was the last time you saw a good Microsoft conference?
I mean, that's hard to. Go ahead.
You just scratch your head and answer it.
I was going to say, like,
self-explanatory,
I was going to say I didn't think none of the conferences were been that great the last few years, but the last few from Microsoft have been lackluster. I agree. Go ahead.
Right. So that's just their their marketing needs a lot of work. So that has a lot to do why Scorpio doesn't have a lot of hype behind it, and it's too far off in the distance because this time last year the Switch or the NX didn't have the same type of hype. People were talking about it, but wasn't as busy as it is right now when everybody's talking about it. So when we get to like September, October, then everybody's gonna be talking about Scorpio. So this will be coming out pretty soon. So
Yeah.
As far as E3, obviously it's not needed because you can make your own conferences. I mean, Nintendo back in the day had Space World, so even if they didn't go to E3, they still had their own show. And, other companies have been doing that for years. And, Apple does their own stuff all the time. They don't wait for like CES or anything like that to show off their new products. They can do it on their own stuff. So it's not needed, but it's something that's desired from us as gamers because it's almost like the Super Bowl for gaming or like WrestleMania for gaming. It's something that you look forward to every year because everybody knows that since it's E3, you got to bring your biggest and best stuff. You can't just come there half-stepping. You got to come there with whatever the heavyweight stuff you have. That's what you show at E3. You don't have to do it, but people like to do it. And it's more or less like a showcase of what we are as a company and what we're doing in the direction that we're going. But is it needed? No, it's not necessary because, with social media, if something happens in Tokyo, we'll know about it in seconds. It's just that fast. So, it's because of social media and the internet, the need for a conference isn't there anymore because the original purpose for it is because, obviously we can't get to wherever these conferences are. So we want to be able to watch them on TV to find out what these new companies are going to come out with, new technology, new games, whatever. But now you don't need to do that. So yeah, it's not necessary to have it anymore. But I think it's something that we all like Keith was saying, we all look forward to E3 every year. It doesn't make any sense for people to say that, or some people say we need to go away, they need to stop it. No, that's just too extreme. I think E3 is morphing into something else. I think that E3 is going to be here to stay, but it's not going to be what we've been accustomed to. It's going to be something completely different in the next 2 to 3 years, and it may be just them opening up the public to us, the gamers, to go and play their new stuff. And that could be what E3 becomes, and it can become something even bigger and better versus just watching people stand around on stage talk about statistics and stuff.
Right. I would say that, and I probably should have worded this a little bit different because I don't think Shaw was saying that we as the gamers don't need E3. He was saying companies like Nintendo and Sony and Microsoft don't need E3. EA, Ubisoft, Activision, the developers who create the content doesn't need the EA stage. And where I want to agree with him, I agree with him wholeheartedly, is because Nintendo has been creating the blueprint for this for a while now. Even through the fails of the Wii U, Nintendo with their digital directs or Nintendo Directs and their digital events, Nintendo has superseded and usurped the need for everybody wants them to stand on the stage and come to E3. You don't come to E3, you missing it. Well, yeah, they might have fumbled the Wii U, but after that they took their ball, they took their ball and their toys, they gathered it up and took it to a whole different park, and was like, look, they took it out of the hands of the so-called journalists. I had another video that I didn't get up. Have we seen any ads on the IGNs and the Game Spots and the so-and-sos and the so-and-sos? No. Nintendo has literally stripped all the promotion and need for these popular gaming websites, the need for E3, the need for anything, and they literally took it into their own hands, and they're inviting any gamer or any consumer who wants to know to their controlled playground. Look, come and watch our Nintendo Direct. Come and watch our Treehouse where we show you the games ourselves. Actually, come to New York. We're not going to invite IGN and all these big wigs. We're going to invite you. The fact that Ruler 2 Review, a fellow Nintendo YouTuber, was called to come out, and it was a whole bunch of others to be a special guest to take part in playing the Switch, is showing Nintendo is just bypassing the IGNs and the journalists and all these individuals. They're not inviting them. That's why the gamer tag radios and the hip hop gamers and the IGNs are all upset because they got to pay their money. Nintendo is not focusing on getting their critique or their write-up or their view of. They don't care. They took their ball and went to their own park and like, we can create a bigger park. We're to invite our friends and the people that we want to invite. That's gonna appreciate what we're doing, and that's how they do it. And they have found success through with the 3DS, not so much the Wii U, but now the Switch. They're finding success with this approach, and now I see a lot of this going on with Sony and Microsoft as well with the PlayStation experiences and all that. Nintendo was the first to really start doing this type of stuff. Like, go ahead.
I just want to jump in. Jump in. You got to think about it though. Nintendo's trying to control their message, and they know that the actual fans and the gamers are going to tell the truth. You get these IGNs out here, Game Informer and all Kotakus and all these other folks. You get these people out here, they're going to spin and have clickbait articles and stuff like that to get you in there for their revenue. But they're not going to treat Nintendo and tell the truth. I mean, you can look at the Wii U and tell that,
right.
People didn't know that the tablet was they thought the tablet was its own console and stuff like that, and didn't know it was an actual console. I'm sorry, an add-on to the Wii. Like, that's your job. You call yourself a journalist. That's your job to tell the truth about that. So why?
Yeah, and you're right, Keith. You bring up an excellent point. A lot, and that's the reason why they did take it out, because that was intentional. That's another video I had. Intentional confusion of the message. Like, they tried to do it with the Switch. They tried to do the exact same thing with the Switch, but go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna say, why would I call you out here so you can try to, turn the Switch into something that you want it to be? Like when everybody was they was going with those rumors, and they were trying to use those rumors as fact. Like, I don't need you to come in here. Let me call Rob from Rule to Review and get him out here, and he can post a video. You know what I mean? And he'll tell the truth. So.
Right. I'm really appreciating and loving what Nintendo is doing, because like you said, they have been controlling, and you just echoing what many other gamers have said, the Nias, the Red Knights, the Mizatis, the Robs, Ruler 2, and many others have said that Nintendo literally took their ball and their toys and all their goods, they money, and said, you know what? If y'all want Sony and Microsoft, and that's what y'all want to be, have them. We'll go over here and we'll create our own space. And not only have they done it, they are finding success with it. Now, people just want to focus on the Wii U, but the 3DS, the DS, and the Wii and all that, Nintendo has been eating pretty good for a while. The Wii U was the anomaly in that situation where it was a failure. Everything else was 100 plus. So they have been successful for all the platforms for the last decade and a half outside of the Wii U. That was the only failure. And even that, the sales of the amiibos and all that was still a success in a way. So Nintendo's, to do all this outside of the gaming industry's support, no third-party support, no support from the major websites that cover gaming, Nintendo has been able to generate a hype for this system outside of E3 space. I think John Shaw was right on the money, man. I really do. But anyway, we don't want to stay on. We don't want to just exhaust ourselves with Nintendo. So what else has been out there? What other news is out there? So Mark Cerny, that's his name, said that he had I saw this today where they was talking about 4K and the fact that the PlayStation 4 doesn't do native 4K for most games. It can do it depending on the type of game that is being done. But for those AAA games, it's checkerboard. Where he was basically saying that you really can't tell the difference between 4K native and the way that the PlayStation 4 achieves 4K
Checkerboard
visuals, the checkerboard. So D2K, let's get you on this, man.
What's the question?
I'm trying to figure out how I want to ask this question and set this up. Is 4K proven to be, because most folks are complaining about the Pro and the fact that they're not seeing the difference. That's been, not many games take advantage of what the Pro can do. So they had this update. They called it the boost or something like that, to where the games can tap into, I guess, what the PlayStation 4 Pro can do. Give me your thoughts on 4K gaming and what has taken place so far. The PlayStation Pro been out for about at least 3 months now. What do you take from what's been done so far with it?
Well, nothing's been done with it so far. I mean, we've already discussed this, the prematurity about 4K gaming and how, it's really not time for it yet. I mean, 4K TVs are cheaper, but they're still very expensive. It's not like everybody has one. There's not a need to have 4K as a necessity right now. I think that people should be trying to figure out how to make every single game a default 1080p 60 frames per second if that's what the developer wants to do. There should be no situation where on a console you have to back off from that. You may want to have 30 frames per second if you want your game to have a more cinematic feel, but there should be no situation where a developer has to go back to 30 frames per second just to get the game to run smoothly. I think that the extra power in these systems should be dedicated towards that versus dedicating towards 4K, because we still can't get that from the PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. So, I think it's kind of a waste of time as far as the 4K stuff for right now. I think this is something that should have been handled with the 9th generation consoles that are coming. I don't know what Scorpio is. I don't know if it's a next gen console or if it's a mid gen upgrade. They can't seem to make up their mind on what it is, but that's something that should have been default for the 9th gen is 4K across the board. But it is what it is. I mean, a lot of these companies, Nintendo included, they see that they can do a thing and they feel like they feel it's necessary to do that thing. And they don't really think about whether or not they should do that thing. And I think Microsoft and Sony, their problem is that they can do 4K, but they haven't really thought about why are we doing 4K? What is the point of this? What do we have? What games do we have coming out that have been built from the ground up in 4K resolution?
That's what I was just going to say. That you took it right out of my mouth.
It shows a necessity to play games in this resolution. And there isn't anything. You're upscaling stuff that's designed for 1080p to 4K resolution.
I just found that out today, that there's actually no game actually being developed in native 4K. So they're still building games on 1080p resolution and just upscaling that and stretching that to the 4K size difference. And that's what the checkerboarding is. They're not even, the developers are not even making the game in 4K. So the reality, we're not getting 4K in gaming either way it go. It's like they haven't started developing games in 4K resolutions. So
yeah, and the thing about that is that people don't understand how much time it takes to render games in native 1080p. So you're talking about rendering games in native 4K. I mean, it's going to take a while to do stuff like that. In all the textures and effects and the physics and all that type of stuff. It's a lot of load. And to be perfectly honest with you, that's something that should be set for PC gaming, because with a PC you can build your PC as strong as you want it to be, as strong as your pocketbook will allow, basically. So that's the only place you're going to get any native 4K gaming anytime soon. So I can see why third parties might want to make games in 4K for that purpose, but I don't see why Sony and Microsoft need to do that right now. Now, I can see from a VR standpoint of being able to have power to do 4K to allow you to have 2K resolution in VR, or having 2K resolution to be able to have 1080p resolution in VR. Some of the rumors are about the Switch is that if the Switch does go ahead and do the VR, that the Switch will be able to somehow, either there'll be some type of module or SCD that can step it up to 1440p, which will give you 1080p for each eye on the actual VR device. So if there's a practical reason for it, then I can understand that. And for a PSVR, that makes the PS4 Pro make sense to have that extra power, because you have to have, if you have a regular PS4, you need that little module that comes with the PSVR in order to step up the graphics so that it looks decent. But if you have a powerful console like the PS4 Pro is, then you don't need that little module. So I just think that they just make the stuff and they just say, okay, let's figure out what to do with it now after we've made the technology, versus saying, we have these games in mind, and this is how it's going to look in 4K. Now let's go build the machine.
Right. Keith, go and give me your thoughts, and I got a question that, listening to D2K talk, it made me think of a question that I want to ask before we go to this final topic. Go ahead.
Can you restate that question for me one more time? I want to make sure I actually.
I was saying, what did I say? You may have we seen anything with 4K from the Pro? Like, what's going on, since we haven't really seen anything that makes the 4K worthwhile yet? Like, what's going on? I think that's kind of how I worded it, if I'm right. Is that how I worded Keith? I mean, D2K?
What's that?
How did I word that question I asked you? I forgot, because I'm thinking about another question.
Well, I mean, it's just basically, it's like, what was the point of them doing this? I mean, they're not. That's pretty much what the gist of the conversation is. What was the point of 4K if we can't get native 4K from either one of these consoles?
Okay. I don't know. I think they're just trying to see what the gamers gonna do, like what the Sony fans and the Xbox fans, will they re-up? And I think a lot of them will. Like, how much? What can we can say anything, and they're gonna go out and buy it, because you're playing the same games and you're not even playing them at 60 frames per second. So I don't get it. I really don't.
Well, let me ask this question, and it kind of goes into what we were just talking about, but listening to D2K and then thinking about the fact that when I was listening to this today, and I found out that there were actually no games actually made in native 4K. So there is nothing that's coming to these platforms that is originally created with 4K visuals. Everything is made at the 1080p level and then upscaled and stretched from there. So with that in mind, I see a lot of developers coming out talking about, even the unlikely developers are actually talking about the Switch, like the dude that made use the word for Konami. What's his name?
Kojima.
Kojima had a lot to say about the Switch, actually trying to take credit for the concept behind, the on-the-go home on the go type of concept that the Switch is doing, a mobile and home console all in one. The question I would ask is Sony and Microsoft barking up the wrong tree? Like, is this the first time that, because I'm listening to what was going to be need to be done with the Scorpio, what's going on with the Pro, and the fact that none of the games, and actually some of the games, look worse on the PlayStation 4 Pro than the actual PlayStation 4. So they're not optimized. There's a lot of stuff going on, but with this still being supposedly the 8th gen, like D2K said, and maybe this probably should have waited to the 9th gen, even if the 9th gen it'll be ready. Are Microsoft and Sony, and it's yet to be proven. We still got to wait till the Switch hit the market and see what it does. But if the Switch is successful, right, and it delivers on what it says it can do and what it says it promise, and it's all there. It's not the greatest graphics, but it's good enough. You can take it on the go. You got home console on the go, home console type games on the go. If it's successful, is this going to show that Microsoft and Sony might be barking up the wrong tree? Because I've been hearing a lot of different analysts and different developers saying that Nintendo, if the Switch is successful, it can literally pivot the way where gaming is going and how developers and people approach gaming from here on out if the Switch is actually successful.
I don't agree with that. I just think that it'll just prove that Microsoft and Sony went down a road they didn't need to go down. I think that there was no reason to go with 4K. I think, like I said before, you need to shore up what you are doing now. And that's, you know what I'm saying? We've said that many times before, is that, you know, I think, remember that one report came out where they were saying that we still said we've reached our limits with the power of the PlayStation 4 or something like that. And we all laughed at how ridiculous that statement was, because it is ridiculous. You know, it's, you take what you already have and max that out. It's a technique that me as an artist, I understand. Like, if I'm modeling a character, you know, I have to try to make the box model fit the shape that I'm modeling as much as I can before I add more geometry to that mesh. Because if you add too much from the beginning, then you're going to create a mess. So I think that Microsoft and Sony basically didn't max out what they already had, and they're just saying, oh, we can do 4K now. And like I said, just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should do something. And I think that even if the Switch is a huge runaway success, it doesn't mean that Microsoft and Sony need to start doing what Nintendo is doing. It just means they need to stop doing stupid stuff and go back to doing what works. You know,
I don't know. Like this is my only pushback, and I agree, but to an extent, I don't know. Like, okay, if the Switch was just a stationary home console and going 4K was the bad move, maybe realizing 1080p, 60 frames per second might have been the best move, then yes. But with the added luxury of taking that with you, it becomes your device for your gaming at home on the go. It literally fills that space and that void. Like, but if it answers that dilemma, that's a new space.
That's a lot of supposition, that level, because that's what Nintendo is supposing, that the entire gaming universe, so to speak, has had this insatiable need for a device where I can play my games at home and take them on the go. That's what they're banking on. That's their selling point. But the facts is that you have had a portable console that had console level graphics already with the PlayStation Vita, and it's
no, I don't know. No, I can't. I think let me take.
I'm not done.
Oh, go ahead.
They're not. I'm not saying. I didn't say it was on par with the PlayStation 4. I said they're console level graphics, because their graphics are at least as good as the PlayStation 3. You know, and that's a console, isn't it?
Was it as good as the PlayStation 3? No, but was it better than the Wii? Yes.
They were as good as the PlayStation 3, at least the ones made by Sony. I can't talk about any of the third-party stuff. But the point is that you've had good-looking, and I had a PSP, and the PSP games actually look pretty good for their generation. But the point is that you've already had portable consoles where you've had games that look as good or close to as good as what you're going to get on the home console. And people have had those consoles and been happy with having those consoles and their home console. The PSP sold over 100, or close to 100 million, or it was pretty close to 100 million, like 80 million or something like that. So you know that people can say, I have this space where I can have this portable thing over here, and I can have this powerful machine over here. Now, it's a convenience to marry those two things and bring them together. But to say that because Nintendo is doing it, that's going to change the market into something else, we're not thinking about what we've seen in the past 2 generations. Because let me finish my statement, please.
All right, man. Dang, I just want to you kind of go along.
I want to say the whole thing before you make your rebuttal.
All right, go ahead.
The Wii, we thought, was going to change gaming into something else because motion control for the Wii was so innovative. It was so different. It was so, unconventional to what we were accustomed to. Even the controller itself. When I first saw the Wiimote, I'm like, that's a remote control for a TV. How am I supposed to play a game with that? But when you first saw the Wiimote, you had no idea what that was and how you're going to play games with that until we saw that E3 and we saw that first sizzle reel, and then it was the big, huge aha moment when we saw what the Wii was all about, and a lot of sales were made during that first sizzle reel. I know for me it was sold. When I saw that, I was like, done, bought, day one. But we saw how successful the Wii was, and then Microsoft and Sony said, we gotta get in on this. So Sony makes the PlayStation Move, it crashes and burns. Microsoft makes the Kinect, they say, well, let's not try to make exactly what Nintendo made. Let's try to do something completely different, but still in the motion control arena. So they make the Kinect. And the Kinect was actually pretty successful for a short period of time and helped them clean up some of the mess that they lost as far as sales from the E74 and the Red Ring of Death sales and pull them even with Sony. But after motion control died out, when the casuals said, okay, this was fun for a while, let's go back to doing what we were doing before, people went back to playing games in their regular default way. So I'm not saying that this can't do that, but I'm not saying it's an imminent thing that the Switch is going to turn everything around and everybody and Microsoft and Sony are going to have to follow what Nintendo is doing as far as making a hybrid console, because there's a lot of people who this does not appeal to. It really doesn't. There's a lot of people who think this is great, and I hope that they enjoy it because, everybody should get their money's worth, whatever they buy. And, the Switch in and of itself is a neat idea. But for some people, they don't need this because they're not interested in portable gaming at all. They never have been. So that caveat of saying being able to take your games on the go doesn't apply to them. And if that's all that you have to say, this is why you should have the Switch versus everything else, they're going to look at the everything else and see the price points match up a little bit better than what you're getting with the Switch. And they're going to say, well, maybe during Christmas when Mario comes out, because I want to play Mario, and then I'll have more games to choose from because you'll have all the games that have come out throughout the year. That's probably the best time. That's probably when you're going to see a lot of sales for the Switch is this holiday season because you'll have a lot of games. Mario will be out. You'll probably have a bundle, a pack in. Something will be packed in. That'll be the best time to buy the Switch, I think, for anybody. But after that, it's going to be like, for the people who are not interested in portable gaming. But the people who love portable gaming, they're going to love it because it's really designed to be that. It's not designed to give you the real home game experience. It's designed to give you more of a home experience on the go. That's the whole thing. I want home console graphics on the go. That's their whole selling point. Well, if I don't want to play my games on the go, that's not a benefit to me. So I don't see how that's going to change. People who don't want to do that are going to all of a sudden change their minds. And, okay, now I do want to do that. I don't see that.
Can I answer some of this? There's a lot of stuff you said here, DT.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that
All right, so let's go back to the whole Vita saying that it's already done. Was a Vita console level graphics? It was close. That was their selling point. That is basically the PlayStation 3 are just as powerful as the PlayStation 3, but it proved not to be the PlayStation 3. 2, the problem with the Vita was there was a PlayStation 3 that cost that was the same amount of money that you was playing to play the exact same game on the Vita. You had to spend $299 for the Vita and $600 for the PlayStation 3. So it hurt the vision. Had there been one system, we possibly could have seen a game changer. Now, with the Wii, you say that the Wiimotes didn't change the game. I would counter that and say, yes, it did. By everything that you said, it changed because Sony came out with the moves, controllers. Microsoft came out with the Kinect twice. It might have didn't live on those two platforms, but we still have motion control gaming till this day with VR and other devices like the Vive, the Oculus, PlayStation VR uses the moves. The better way to experience VR is motion control. So the Wii, Mote, and Nunchuck did not die. It actually is still relevant now today, and now we see it back with the Switch. Now, the part that you are right, I know that you as a gamer are not interested in the mobility of your home console. That's fine and dandy. But there was a lot of people who never thought they would want to carry a cell phone in their pocket. What I need a cell phone for? I got a house phone. But now the whole world is carrying cell phones. Now the whole world is carrying tablets. Now the whole world is doing certain things that they probably said they would never do. So what I'm saying is, I don't know if it will be the case. I'm saying if the Switch is successful in this space that it is coming out in at this timing, if it is successful in the way that they're approaching the game by marrying both mobile and home console, and if Sony and Microsoft has been, and Sony and Microsoft has been proven to be going the wrong way with trying to realize just better resolution, this could be what the Vita possibly could have been if there was no PlayStation 3. The Vita could have done it. If the Vita was packaged, if the PlayStation 3 was the Vita like the Switch is now, that would have changed the game. And you would have saw Microsoft and Nintendo, like, my God, they have made both handheld and home console all in one setting, and you getting those AAA titles that you play at home on the go and for the same price. I don't know, D2K. It is a possibility, and this is what a lot of developers and a lot of people are surmising possible. I'm not saying it will happen, but it's not far-fetched that if the Switch is successful, let's say like the Wii U, that it literally could pivot how people approach gaming, because they will want that luxury going forward from now. That's all I'm saying.
I want to jump in.
Jump in, Keith. That's all I was saying.
But I just don't think that's their audience. Maybe 10 years from now we can look back and say the Switch changed the game. But if we're just looking at it right now, like you said, Sony came out with the Move, more advanced Wii remotes. They came out with the Vita, and it's more powerful, and it's mobile. But yet it existed, but the people didn't want it, and that's kind of to D2K's point. These guys just don't want it. It don't appeal to them. It already existed. I think that's what he was trying to say.
I know I got what he was saying. All I was saying was, if you remove the PlayStation 3 and the Vita was it, the PlayStation 3 killed the Vita. Nobody wanted to buy the same games and had to spend that much money to have the mobility that the Vita offered. It would cost too much to be realistic. You're looking at almost $900, or when the PlayStation 3 finally came down to $299, you're looking at $600 to get a poor mobile experience. That's what I'm saying. The technology was the failure, not the idea.
I think they would have had 160 million 360 sold in.
What'd you say?
I said it probably would have been 160 million 360 sold in. I just don't think those guys care about it. I think they love their big boxes and sitting in front of their comfy couches. But I hope you're right. I would love to know that the Switch has changed the game and everybody's taking it on the go and the tech advances even more. But we'll see.
But I think where y'all missing it at, I'm not saying it's gonna happen. What I'm saying is, if we're looking at where the market is going and where it's trending, whereas with the other two platforms, the only thing they're doing is adding more power and resolution, and they're finding it hard to do it. Like what we're literally seeing is we're hitting a exhaust point with affordability and bang for your buck with what you're getting on your screen. The PlayStation 4 is actually probably what the PlayStation 4 Pro really can't deliver on what the ideas that it's talking about. Sony has all but said that, but it can give you a better looking visual. But beyond that, it's not doing anything extra that the PlayStation 4 ain't doing for you. It just make it shinier. So they can't afford to do anything beyond. Even with PC, is getting to a point to where we're hitting this exhaust point where we can't go any farther with this direction. And I'm saying if Nintendo is successful with giving you this option, if it's successful, we might see another path. I heard a few developers say this, and a dude from Konami, I can't think of his name, Kojima. Is that his name, Kojima?
Yeah.
Said the same thing. That's all I was alluding to. I'm not saying this to take this as it's going to happen. I'm saying what if. It's all based on what if. Could this happen?
Well, let's listen to what Nintendo actually said. Reggie stood in front of a camera and he said, at the time it was the NX, with the NX, it's not about teraflops, it's not about the specs, it's about the games and the content. Right. And we're going to let Microsoft and Sony fight it out in that red ocean. He told you, without saying the actual words, that we're not trying to change the game into something else. We are carving our own lane, and we are creating our own pocket in the gaming universe to exist. And this is something that Nintendo has been doing since the Wii. They have basically decided to say, we could make a powerful console or more powerful console than anything that Microsoft and Sony could possibly do, and have it be innovative and still have all the games and still have all the creativity, but we don't want to do that. We just want to focus on our strengths, which are the games and innovation in terms of how you play the games. They're trying to create their own universe where they can say, this is us over here. We're not trying to force Microsoft and Sony to change what they are. And we're not trying to tell people not to buy their consoles because our way of gaming is better than what they're doing. We're just going to do what we want to do, and we want to do it at our pace and at our level. And when you look at it from that perspective, you can see the forest through the trees, because Sony, the PlayStation 4 is still selling at a faster rate than the PlayStation 2, which is the best-selling console ever. So there is obviously not a problem with the PlayStation console model.
That's what
The problem is them being arrogant and overzealous and going above and beyond to an area that nobody asked them to, and they don't need to be there. All Sony needs to do is to reel themselves in and get back into themselves. That, okay, the PlayStation 4 is selling great. We're on top. We've pretty much won this 8th generation. Let's keep this going. I don't know what Microsoft is going to do because they're a mess right now. But Sony, they just need to get back into themselves and put their head back on their shoulders and realize that you have a good thing going here. Don't screw it up. So, go ahead.
What I was going to say was, and that's why I was saying, that's why I'm prefacing what I'm saying with the direction that they're trying to go, because they have stepped beyond the PlayStation 4. They have stepped beyond the Xbox One and the Xbox One S. Now you have the PlayStation 4 Pro. Now you have the Xbox One Scorpio. Mark Cerny said, we have exhausted. We have got all we can get out of the PlayStation 4.
Which it's not true.
Now, right? We know, right? So we debated. We talked about this in the past podcast. Now going back to what you said about Nintendo, I agree wholeheartedly. Nintendo is not saying we're for to change the game and force Sony them to follow us. What I'm saying is everything that you're saying is correct. Nintendo is like, let them fight it out over there. Like I said before, I'm picking my ball up. Basically, I haven't been accepted in this party because I don't come the same way. So I'm just going to take my ball and my toys, and I'm just going to go find a different basketball court, and I start over there. They can have it. I bow out. They won this. Okay. They go to the other basketball court that was the Wii. They were not trying to compete. They were not trying to beat. They were not trying to conquer. They just was doing their thing, and it caught so much wind that it forced the people that they're not competing get to adjust to compete with the company that ain't trying to compete. The Wiimote caused the Wii and the Kinect to come. That happened. The 3DS, the DS, the Game Boy Advance is the main motivator for the PSP and the Vita. That happened.
Right. But
so what I'm saying is,
we're talking about the motion control, not the other stuff. We're focused on the.
I'm just saying. What I'm saying is, while Nintendo might not be trying to compete, and we're like Reggie said, we're about experiences, we're about the games. But Nintendo adds some nuance that gives you a different experience that separates them from the pack. If it succeeds, we saw this with the Wii. The only thing Nintendo messed up with is they left their own success in the back for the gamepad. If they would have stuck with the Wiimote nunchuck and made it, and maybe the Joy-Cons should have been the next evolution, they probably would still be enjoying a whole lot of success. They left it thinking they needed to go with the gamepad, which I like the gamepad, but Nintendo had found success with their new way of approaching games, and we still are utilizing that new approach. I'm not saying they were the creator of it, but they were the first ones to bring it to the masses. Motion controls was the first really experience in a mass way with Nintendo and their controllers. Now we have motion controls with everything now. It's not a dead way of gaming. Actually, that's where everybody wants. Oh, I want the VR. You want motion controls. I was having this out with K-Bum and a few others. You can't say motion controls is dead and then talk about VR, because that's all motion controls. The VR is motion,
But we've also talked about how VR is not doing as well as.
No, it's not. It's not. It's niche.
And that's the whole. That's it. That's it right there. It's niche. There is an audience for that. There are people who want to do that. But when we look at what has stood the test of time, things like the D-pad, the diamond slot button formation, shoulder buttons, triggers, rumble, things like that. Even, and now this hasn't been done since the N64. Now, power expansion, as far as like the memory expansion port on the NES, on the N64, Now you have, possibility of expansion with the SCD, with the Switch, and with the PlayStation VR. You have to have a little port, I don't know what that little module thing is, but it increases the power somehow so that the VR actually looks presentable on PlayStation VR. But the thing is that when it comes to motion controls, Nintendo took a step. First of all, they didn't push motion controls nearly as far as they could or they should have.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
With the Wii, I mean, there was a lot left on the table in terms of, because they still haven't figured it out. And I say that the Switch basically is a fusion of the Wii and the Wii U, basically taking what they wanted to do with the Wii but couldn't, and what they wanted to do with the Wii U but couldn't, right? Put it into one console. And you have to look at the audience that they're going after. They know they have the Nintendo fans in their pocket. They don't have to ask about that. That's supposed. They already have that. That's lock, stock, and barrel. But the casuals, they're banking that the casuals will have that nostalgic feeling that they had when they first picked up a Wii remote. And when they start playing games like 1-2 Switch and Snipper Clips and any other in ARMS and all the games that are basically designed to show the playability and the functionality of the Joy-Cons, that they'll stay this time. But casuals are not loyal. Hence the term casual. That's the reason why they're called casuals, because they don't stick around. We stick around. So, it's going to be interesting to see how things play out once the casuals walk away, because they're going to, and what the Switch does after that happens.
Yeah, I would go ahead, Keith. Go ahead. I'm pretty sure you got something to say.
I actually don't. I'm just listening. Oh, okay.
At this point. I would end this one with this. You're right too. You're right. The casuals are not loyal, but I would surmise with the Switch, there were a lot of hardcores who claimed that they were never going to buy a Wii, that bought a Wii, that enjoyed a Wii, and would never be honest about it. But they did. But what Nintendo has a knack of doing is making something that seems to be niche popular to masses. they got a knack. A
lot of people after the fact, came back and said, "Oh, I didn't play that Wii stuff." I think that when, like I said, when you saw that first sizzle reel in E3 2006, I don't see how anybody who's a gamer saw that and say, I gotta get my hands on this thing. Because it was like, man, you saw the dude jumping over the couch and all that stuff, playing Red Steel and all that. That stuff that's the type of stuff that's the type of marketing that they're doing now for the Switch. And that's the type of stuff that draws you in to say, hey, I gotta try this thing. But I think after the Wii had a certain stigma behind it of being, oh, this is waggle controls, oh, this is a kiddie system, and da 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 da. Then people said, man, I didn't play that Wii stuff. I didn't play that week old Wii. Right. Yeah, they did.
I think what hurt the Wii was actually what's hurting the other two now. What hurt the Wii was not being HD. Meaning once you got acclimated and used and come familiar with the Wiimote nunchuck, what was on the screen, and when you will see the 360 and the PlayStation 3, just could not compare to what you were seeing. Now that Nintendo has stepped over into HD gaming, 4K ain't a big enough step from what you see from 1080p. So now it's flipping like, well, what's the point of me stepping up to that? This looks good right here, where there is a literal no argument different from standard definition to 720p.
And another thing is that instead of, like I said, the big mistake is that they're focusing on the resolution. If they were say, okay, let's use this extra power to instead of increasing the resolution, let's increase the tessellation of the models so that they look more real than they actually do. Use this to add more tessellation, to add more physics, to add more particles, to add better textures, to make the game look more real. It's an 1080p rather than make it look as good as it does in 1080p in 4K.
Now you're talking about having more. You need more capable hardware to do that. I think that's
I'm saying that that's what they have it. They have it with the PS4 Pro and the Scorpio, but they're focusing on the resolution. They're not focusing on the tessellation of the characters.
Because you can't market tessellation. You can't. It's easy to say 4K. You can't say, man, this tessellation on this game is legit. Oh, tessellation.
Here's some doo-doo in 1080p. Here's some doo-doo in 4K.
You can market 1080p. You can market 4K. You can just say, man, this 4K, these hot. You can't, man, this tessellation. What the tessellation?
And you're right. I mean, it's pretty much become a meme. You know, there's no substance behind it.
Right. So, but anyway, I want to ask y'all one more thing, but I don't want to be on it too long. But let's go. We in on this. So I say this for another podcast. Let's do that. But anyway, man, I hope that y'all enjoyed this. Hopefully we get John Shaw on here so he can give us some feedback on his PAX South experience. I guess he's still trying to make up for the time that he took off. I don't know. Hopefully he jump on here one of these podcasts. But man, I enjoyed myself with you two guys. D2K always coming with that knowledge. Keep always coming with them unique takes and point of views on gaming. And hopefully we can get it back up. I won't be able to get up this Sunday because I have a second service I got to go to, so I won't be there. But hopefully get back up this coming Thursday and do it all again. But let's sign out. I'm going to start with Keith.
Yes, guys, it's been good. It's been real. D2K, glad to have you back. We've been missing your voice and your reasoning.
Okay, thank you. I think.
That was just, I can't say it. No, but it was a good podcast, and I can't wait to do it next Thursday.
D2K?
Yeah, this is good to be back on the broadcast and just chop it out and talk about some stuff that's going on, and I guess I'll be here next Thursday.
Okay, and hopefully we have the whole crew in. I'm gonna have to try to catch up with Shaw and see when we can get him on, man, because I really want to prick his brain on some of the stuff. But it's almost up on us, man. March 3rd ain't that far from now, man. I'm thinking it's about 3 weeks out, right at 3 weeks out, man. So, and February is a short month. That's kind of crazy. They give, even though I feel like Black History Month, Black History is American history. Why we get the shortest month of the year, man? What's what are you trying to tell us? Anyway,
why does that question even need to be?
We know to
answer that question.
But anyway, man, I'm just messing. But till next time, folks, I hope y'all enjoyed this episode 85, and we'll be back on the sunny side. Till next time, folks, deuces.
Mr. You're live in the what level? What level? Mr. You're live in the what level? What level? Mr. You're live, Mr. You're live in the Mr. You're live in the what level? What level? What level? What level? Mr. You're live in the what level? What level?